Welcome to this episode of the Justice Team podcast on the Justice Team Network. And today we are very, very honored to have attorney Booth, Quincy Booth, coming to us from Pennsylvania.
What's happening? Happy to be here.
Yeah, Quincy, thank you for coming. If you're watching, if you're either on the Apple Podcast listening or if you're watching on YouTube, I'm wearing my favorite Pittsburgh Pirate jersey. This is Bobby Bonilla, still getting paid by the Mets.
I love it. I love it. I was going to wear my Phillies. Actually, I was going to wear a green suit for my Philadelphia Eagles, but we won't talk about the Eagles too much today.
Yes. Well, I grew up on the west side of the state, the better side.
Sir.
You grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. So we're going to talk about a relevant topic for a lot of lawyers here that are listening. They want to know, hey, how do I make extra income as a lawyer? How am I able to generate cases outside of my jurisdiction? I think it's one thing that you've really been able to excel at, being licensed in Pennsylvania as well as California. Took the California bar and some other states and do a lot of construction specific cases, construction workplace injuries and product liability cases, kind of in your niche.
Yeah, man. So, the interesting thing about going to school in Pennsylvania, I'll just start with kind of how I got started as a multi-jurisdiction practitioner, is that certain states, obviously they're going to be border states, so Pennsylvania, Jersey, New York, they offered back when I was in law school the ability to take, the bar exam, the multi-bar exam, the multiple choice portion, as well as both written days in 3 consecutive days, right? So I started out taking the Pennsylvania and New Jersey bar. So it's like Tuesday, Pennsylvania written day, Wednesday, multiple choice, Thursday, Jersey written exam. So you just drive down to Atlantic City and, you drink away your woes after that Thursday bar exam, right? And then you wait 3 months to find out if you're licensed in 2 states or 0 states, or maybe 1.
Did you see any of the kids from Jersey Shore?
Pauly D.
Pauly D, was he
Pauly
spinning?
D. What's the other one's name? The Situation.
Mike, The Situation.
Yeah. No, I didn't see any of them, but it was an amazing time because you're starting out the gate, not just licensed in 1 state, but 2. And then you quickly realize, look, this gives you the opportunity to grow your practice, to have a much broader reach when it comes to your clients.
I'm today years old and I realized that we can move this mic down so I can see my face. Yeah. You taught me something. Look at that.
Oh, is that what I'm doing? Okay,
Look
cool.
at that.
Yeah, exactly. It's flexible like me.
Oh, there you go.
So, having that flexibility to, market yourself to not just 1 state, but 2 or several, really is a game changer, right? But it comes with some challenges. Every state has its own set of rules, right? And I think that there could be no greater contrast in the practice of personal injury law than Pennsylvania and New Jersey. So here's an example. In New Jersey, in a wrongful death case, there's staggered fees that are statutory in nature. So you can't
The
just...
retainer's completely different.
The retainer's completely different. So you've got to, the first, don't quote me exactly because I don't practice as much in New Jersey anymore, but I think the first $1 million you can only get 20%. And then between $1 million and $3 million, it's 30%. And then anything after that, a different percentage. So,
and if you're having somebody sign a retainer, your Pennsylvania retainer in New Jersey, that's a dead bang ethical violation.
Exactly. So the other part is the ethical rules. Fortunately for the 3 states that I'm licensed in, which are Jersey, Pennsylvania, and California, I think all of them, for the most part, follow the model rules of professional conduct. So take your MPRE exam and you're good to go, for the most part. Obviously, you want to acclimate yourself with certain nuanced rules wherever you practice.
Yeah, and the other thing is whenever you have multi-jurisdictional is a lot of people don't realize that other lawyers are looking for other lawyers as their local counsel, or they need somebody in a specific area to help run logistics.
Exactly. So, and in tune with that, I've had the opportunity to be on the ProHoc side. So for our listeners, that's, when you associate with a local counsel and then you might not even be barred in that state, which opens the door for a much wider arena within which you can practice. If you associate with the local counsel and you specialize in a particular type of case that they don't, they can file a motion with their, the courts in their state to admit you pro hoc vice. So But the logistics of things is pretty intense. I mean, I reside in California, but I'm always back in Pennsylvania as much as possible physically because that's where my home is, and that's where I was born into the law. So I want to physically be there as much as possible. When I'm not, the advent of AI and remote work has made it super easy to handle my caseload there. So.
Yes, I mean, how much of because you still have a lot of cases that you're doing in Pennsylvania back east, and then also your California practice. How are you able to kind of manage doing that?
I think the biggest challenge is with respect to court appearances. Depositions are 10 a.m. pretty much universally, and so when I have a dep at 10 a.m. in Philadelphia or in Pittsburgh or someplace, I'm up at like 5 a.m.
Why are you sleeping
4:30
in?
California time, to get ready because it's going to start at 7 a.m. for me here. Otherwise, it's about case management, utilizing software to kind of manage your caseload, be on top of your files. If you've got support, which I do, just touching base with them as frequently as possible. I think one of my biggest strengths is client connection. And, I've always prided myself on just being available for my clients regardless of when during the day they call me, right? So I get calls at 4 a.m. because someone on the East Coast is calling me at 7 a.m. their time, and I get calls at 12 a.m., right? So I'm always available to be there for my clients.
And I think a big thing that you brought up a lot of lawyers should have is you have a base of your case management software. It also sets you up for multi-jurisdictional practice because some of them auto-populate the rules of that specific state.
Right.
That's huge.
So Even Up, for instance, yep. I've used Even Up in both states, California and Pennsylvania, and it's so simple. You just feed the system the state in which your demand applies, and they will pull for you. I mean, this is incredible. They'll pull verdicts, right, for your specific type of case according to the jurisdiction that you're in. They'll weave it into the demand, and obviously you want to meticulously read through it so that there isn't some like California case law that they're citing in your Pennsylvania case or vice versa. But for the most part, it does all that work for you.
Even Up's been great for us too, and I always say it takes you 90% of the way there. You still got to fact check it, make sure it's good. But
exactly.
Man, what a time saver! But it's products like that allow you to move at a lightning pace, and you can literally be where you want to be with your wife in her home in Southern California and still practicing and running your caseload. So like some states, just for our listeners to be aware, some states are very archaic as it comes to technology. Like I am also licensed in Texas, and they have some that require in-person hearings. Like they have no technology at the court.
Right.
So for like some bullshit hearing, you got to go fly in. And
that's the other thing. So fortunately, and I've practiced up and down the coast in California, so like cases in San Joaquin County down to San Diego County, right? And certain counties within California might have e-filing, right? So it makes it so much easier to interact with the court because you can do it from your computer versus other archaic counties that might require like paper filings, and you've got to have your administrative duties really on point.
Yeah, and let's talk about the monetization of the multi-jurisdictional practice. So for those of you that are on Attorney Share, you can add right now, put Attorney Booth, find Quincy, and you can put them at the top of your waterfall for Pennsylvania. That's the easy way. So, or New Jersey or California, because he get right of first refusal on those construction or workplace injuries or product cases to be able to look at it. And I think that's something very easy for our listeners to be like, if you get a referral or somebody calls you in Pennsylvania, who do I know there? You can literally go there and have it auto-populate to go to Quincy.
That's the coolest.
Fee.
I was looking at it today, and my mind was blown. Yeah. It's so cool. I can't wait to be a part of it. And another thing about like multi-jurisdiction practices, the substantive case law, right, that you've got to be familiar with, is probably the most challenging, right? So I've been actually fortunate that, for instance, in products liability, I remember in law school, like you'd be in I went to Pitt Law, we'd be in torts, reading through products liability case law. And I remember being like, why do we borrow so much from California? Like they would cite the Supreme Court in Pennsylvania would cite California cases pretty often. And so I found that there isn't a big disparity between how those laws are applied, which makes it pretty useful so that you don't have to like know one type of law over here and one type of law over there. But there are other areas of law that, you know, could be very starkly contrasted.
Yeah, and I think that's where you lean on some of your networks and have, you know, communities that and sub-communities within there that'll help you. And I think it's good for, you know, lawyers. You can market yourself as like the go-to for that region.
Exactly.
And I know a lot of lawyers just on Instagram. I send them cases because I'm like, shit, who's in Ohio? Oh yeah, the Ohio guy.
Right.
Like I can send it to him or her. Right?
Yeah, it's funny. My friends throughout like my life have always kind of like looked at me as the guy to put them in touch with somebody or help them, you know, through a challenging time. And that's like why I became a lawyer in the first place, because I pride myself on helping people, and it fulfills me, right, to help people. And so even when, you know, I might not be the person that handles that specific type of law, I want to be people's first call for everything law, because my network is, I've built such a vast network. And that's like one of the cool parts about this profession is that, you know, the plaintiff's bar, regardless of whether you're talking the Philadelphia bar or the bar in California, it's so collegial, right? And, you know, through people like you, I've met so many great lawyers, and we piggyback off one another. And if a client calls me, I pride myself on letting that client know that I'd rather, you know, me make less money, but you make more because you are in the absolute best hands possible. Yeah. And I've worked with those firms on those cases. I mean, I like to do as much as possible on a case for somebody, or, you know, worst case scenario, I've made sure that you've got the best attorney possible.
Yeah, and I think for anyone, you know, coming out of law school or a young lawyer, you should think of yourself as a general counsel for every call that comes in. And sometimes you're the specialist that handles it.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're the person that finds the specialist. And that's where you can partner with those folks, learn from them, learn their specialty, and share in the fees.
You are inherently, as a plaintiff's lawyer, a leader, right? So let's just say you have your own case, and you are like the general of that case, right? You're going to battle. You've got an army behind you. One of your soldiers is your client, right? Obviously, it's all for their benefit. But you got a whole bunch of other soldiers too, your staff, your experts, the doctors, the people that you're going to go into that trial with, right, to tell your story, your client's story. And so when you look at yourself as a leader, that's what it's about. You're also a leader when you refer cases, right? I'm leading my client to the promised land just with the help of somebody else. You know? And
you could still be the point of contact, still keep in touch with them, make sure that everybody's, you know, doing everything together and efficiently. So how do listeners find you, first of all? What's the best way?
Easiest way is Instagram, @AttorneyBooth, right? It's pretty simple. Booth is my last name. So @AttorneyBooth. On Instagram, I give people my direct cell phone number. You know, it's 267-231-1195.
Say it a little slower.
267-231-1195.
Why isn't it at like phone booth?
I don't know. That's a good idea.
Yeah. That just came.
Well, there's a little slogan, the injury booth. You know,
I like that.
Yeah, I need to put a cape on and come out of the booth. I'm the hero for your.
How about
case.
hot tub time booth? That would be awesome. Don't do that.
I
Nobody
feel
remembers.
like only two people would love that. You and me.
Yeah, it's like whenever, you know, when I went through this branding exercise for Instagram they wanted to do, and they're like, you got to change it from @PlanetFunBob. I'm like, fuck that.
No,
I love that. Everybody now calls
me.
I go to conferences and people come to me like, oh my God, you're FunBob.
You are a master at marketing, man. I feel like Pittsburgh as a city should hire you to like market their teams. If I see you 20 times a year, 18 times out of those 20 you're wearing some Pittsburgh gear, which is amazing. I love that.
I also have it like tattooed all over my body.
Yeah.
Like, there's the Clemente Bridge. I actually have a pirate symbol back there. Steelers. It says Justice. That's so I don't forget, your roots.
Yeah, man.
Dude. So, what advice do we have for somebody that's in law school right now to be able to help get into where you want to be as a lawyer and also actually make money and have fun doing it?
So I was having a chat with a law student very recently, and I was explaining to them different streams of income as a plaintiff's personal injury attorney, right? One being, that you directly market to clients, and you generate business that way. Another way is to really facilitate referrals, right? Which back into attorney share, you've got these incredible tools now to facilitate that process for you, right? So the referral networks that you build and establish can end up being a source of income for you.
Big source of income.
So it's like,
on either end of that too, you could either be the specialist,
right, where you receive the referrals.
Exactly. Like there's a lot of people that I know that do nothing other than be your local counsel.
Right.
The whole business model is around they get a smaller percentage of the fee, and they're literally the ones that are filing the cases for you, that have the relationship with the staff and the judges, and I would gladly pay for that, right? It's a huge thing.
100%. I've actually been tapped for local counsel. I was mentioning that earlier. Pro Hoc Vice. I've been on the the other end where I file a motion to Pro Hoc somebody in because they had specific knowledge of a baby sleeper case, right? And it's a products liability case involving rock and play and baby sleepers. And they had already hit big on the big companies, Fisher Price, Mattel, whatever. And they weren't licensed in California. So you work with them as local counsel. You develop knowledge. Look, when you're local counsel for somebody, it is a perfect opportunity to learn a new area of law.
Yep. On their dime.
On their dime.
Yep.
So, and now, you might not be the expert specialist, but you slowly start building that expert knowledge, and, the next thing you know, you don't need somebody else to work with on those cases. You're marketing yourself as that type of attorney. So.
I love it. And that's what I think a lot of people come out of law school and say, I got to take that, the big corporate job or work for the defense because how am I going to be able to make money? And then you get lost in that pattern. It's like, no, you can actually go into something you love to do, niche up into it, and then still advertise that you can help everybody as a whole, and then find the specialists and monetize it.
Exactly.
I mean, I've seen people under the age of 30 have massive success just marketing on YouTube and on Instagram. It's crazy.
It's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing, but here we are, right? And you got to
look, the client gets a good result because they're getting the specialist.
100%. 100%. What else is interesting is between, differentiating different jurisdictions is the procedural practice, right? So Pennsylvania, I think, is out of my 10 years of practice, is the easiest procedurally, like on the papers, right? So I'm talking the format of your complaint, right? California, you've got like pleading paper, you got like the numerical lines on the paper, which is annoying to use if you ask me.
I don't know it any other way.
But you don't know. But in Pennsylvania, you just slap your motion together, your complaint together, you e-file it, and you're off to the races. But you compare and contrast certain procedural things like a motion for summary judgment, for instance, right? In Pennsylvania, you got 30 days to respond. That's it. I think it's a little different in California. You might have like 15 days before the hearing date with which you have to file a response. And in a recent case, that ended up being it gave me like 55 days to respond to the motion for summary judgment. Yeah,
and then, awesome. Pennsylvania, you can't even ask for a number for general damages, for instance.
Right.
You got to get creative around that. Like there's all these different nuances. And that's where you have to really, if you got to get in the trenches, just have a network of folks that you can bounce those ideas off of to make sure.
The more you start realizing that even if substantive law is similar in a state as compared to a different state, you're going to have enough differences where it just behooves you to call somebody that knows what they're doing in that state, right? So for Pennsylvania, that's me.
And another good thing is, that interpersonal networking. It's easy for law students, young lawyers, to literally slide into somebody's DMs and be memorable. Very easy. It's very easy, and that's how I develop relationships.
Slide into DMs.
Slide into DMs. Oh, did you give your OnlyFans account out? I know you did. You gave your Instagram one. That's the phone booth. Yeah, there we go.
No, wow. Man, it's really cool. I've actually, so my listeners or your listeners might not know, I went viral, right, a few years ago.
Yeah. And not the kind that you kind of silly for, right?
Not related to anything OnlyFans related. But no, I sang a song. So my wife's Persian, and I sang a song at our wedding in Farsi, the language that Persians speak. And I got so much positivity and love from people worldwide. Okay, the video went viral. There's like 1 million views on TikTok and Instagram. And I've actually gotten business from that.
See, it's crazy, but yeah, monetize it.
Like you can do something. I'm not necessarily encouraging you to go and try to be like a rapper or singer to get business as a lawyer, but just know that you can monetize anything that you're interested in because you offer that information to the public, to your viewers on Instagram, and next thing you know, you get tapped for a case or two.
Exactly. And then when you're building out your profiles, I don't care where you are, people should know what you do.
That's right.
Know where you are and have it easy to click to refer your
100%.
case. And that's where we're actually going to build that out for Attorney Share, where people can have just a link that's going to be on all their social media profiles. So if they push it, you can automatically refer in, that'll be tracked. Like it's a no-brainer. But you know how many lawyers I see that reach out for mentorship, and I go to their Instagram handle. First, it's private. It's like, okay, accept so I can see.
What sense does that make?
It makes no sense. And then it doesn't show where they are. I have to literally Google to find where they are. Yeah. And it's like, how can I even refer you a case to remember that?
Yeah,
right?
It's weird. So I've gotten referrals from attorneys on Instagram and people sliding into my DMs, asking if I do this, that, or the other. And sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It's just amazing. You want to avail yourself, right? At all times. So that's what I was going back to earlier. I mean, I've availed myself to both attorneys and clients alike at any hour of the day. I make it easy for them to find me, to reach out to me. And I mean, that's a bare minimum.
Yeah. And I think, monetizing multi-state practice is a big thing that you do very well. And I want all of our listeners to reach out, slide into Quincy's DMs or anyone. Another good thing to do, you could do I call it digital networking.
Right.
You could do it that way, but also conference networking. Go out there meeting people, and I like to go to out-of-state conferences and be the California and Texas guy.
Right.
So there's one guy that he's a Virginia lawyer, and we were talking about it. I was like, dude, your logo should be Virginia's for lawyers. You know how that Virginia's for lovers, and he actually made it.
Right.
And then so he wears
That's
a T-shirt
so
and goes around when he goes to conferences and has it, and everybody remembers
that
it.
Is so good.
Everybody knows he's the Virginia guy.
It's the simple things.
It's the little things like that.
It's the simple little things, man. So
I'm gonna start wearing this jersey around. I gotta get licensed in I'm not licensed in Pennsylvania.
You don't need to be. You got me.
That's right. I can just refer you a case. Actually, I have.
I like what you did there.
It's true. It's true. I like that.
Exactly. So I was born into to construction law, right? So I worked as a brand new lawyer, baby lawyer, the nation's leading construction accident firm. And after I had left, I mean, they just recently hit for, I think, close to $1 billion in that Miami collapse case.
Oh, wow.
So I love construction accidents. They're complex, right? Because you've got...
No pun intended.
They are complex because you got so many different contractors, right? You got OSHA, Occupational Safety Health Administration, rules and regs to sort through and swift through. But at the same time, damn near every contractor's got like OSHA violations in the past that you can just
that's why you have to find a specialist, because it's not difficult. There's just so many nuances,
right.
And there's different layers of insurance, and there's
right.
different people that are indemnifying other parts of people that are on there, and you have to know a little bit about like contracting and a little
Correct.
bit of carpentry and things like this. Like I had a case yesterday, came in where a door fell on somebody. Sounds simple, but it
was more complicated.
Yeah.
But for new law students or for new lawyers, I mean, it is one thing that I would always say is just always have fun with it, right? Because you gotta. I mean, this is a tough practice. It's a beautiful profession, but it's not easy, right? It's just so much work involved, and if you can find a way to always have fun with it, it'll help you get through your days.
And it's so much more fun if you're co-counseling it with somebody else.
Right.
It makes it because you have somebody to talk to, somebody to lean on.
The beauty of it is that you're always learning. Like I'm always learning. Every time I sit with you, I learn something. Like something that is super like next level stuff, right? So
like we were putting mayonnaise on sandwiches, and that blew your mind. Guys never had mayonnaise before. So weird.
I would never eat mayonnaise. I don't like mayonnaise. No, but you just gotta always have fun and always be learning, right? I mean, the more you learn, the more tools you have in your toolbox to go out and get business and earn a living.
It's like leveling up in Dungeons and Dragons. More EXP points.
You would have played Dungeons and Dragons.
I still do. I have a big game tonight.
Such a nerd.
Big game tonight.
Get out of here.
Oh yeah.
You didn't like graduate to Pokemon or anything?
No, get out of here, stupid. We're actually in development. We have a game coming out that we're modernizing Dungeons and Dragons and taking out all the. It's called Ravel, and it's by Rakiko Games. But it'll be coming out soon. We're going up to the gaming convention here at the end of the month.
Get out of here.
Pretty far along, man. Yeah. So it's But we do with the other lawyers. We actually have a campaign we're starting with a bunch of lawyers at our firm.
Really?
Fun for team building, man.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, so anyway, we took a little tangent there, but I think at the end of the day, if you're going to market your multi-jurisdictional practice, there's a lot of very easy levers you can pull to make revenue for either sending cases out, getting them in, but also practicing what you want to do. And for lawyers out there, young lawyers or old lawyers, if you're going to say you're good at something, get good at something and make it like lucrative.
Right.
You don't want to be
Right.
like, I'm the banana
Right.
peel slip and fall at 99-cent store lawyer.
The other thing to like newer lawyers is if you're thinking about multi-jurisdiction practice, I would leverage the energy that you have closer to like in proximity to when you take your first bar exam to take the second or third one if you have. So I had to take the California bar exam because there was no reciprocity.
California's
to
reciprocity
Pennsylvania.
with nobody.
And it was, like 6 years after I had taken, or 5 years after I had taken the Pennsylvania bar exam. So it hurt.
Yeah, so thank you for listening to this episode of the Justice Team podcast on the Justice Team Network, which you can find on Apple, on YouTube, or go to www.justicesteamnetwork.com. Thank you, Quincy Booth, for coming in. And
Thank
if you
you
have
for
any
having me.
construction cases, if you have any questions about product liability cases, or if you want to plug in a case in through Attorney Share, he's sitting there for you in PA,
Right here.
CA, New Jersey, and soon to be
New Mexico.
New Mexico. He's going to be the champion of the black community in New Mexico.
Hell yeah. Already am.
Already am. Look at that. Fuck yeah. You got to get some more cowboy boots, though.
I do. I don't own a pair.